Huffington Post decided to play defense for Hillary Clinton when it comes to the issue of the Clinton Foundation. This week, the AP ran a story pointing out that more than half of Hillary's meetings with private citizens when she was Secretary of State were with donors. They were people who gave money to the Clinton Foundation. Well, now Vox first fired back, and then Huffington Post followed suit, pointing out a lot of the things that were mentioned in Vox. And they ran this giant headline. AP witch hunt on Hillary? No. That's really the argument that you're going to make? So, what points do they go on to bring up? Well, their arguments are, number one, this tweet from the Associated Press insinuated that it was half of all of Hillary Clinton's meetings that were with donors, not half of the meetings with private citizens only, so that's misleading and that's a problem. Okay, I covered this story. They made crystal clear in the article. We're saying that it was half of the meetings with private citizens that happened to be donors. So half of the private citizens she met with were donors. Now, they also go on to say, hey, a lot of the heads of state and people from various governments that she met with were donors also. But we're just going to write that off because she's supposed to meet with heads of state anyway and people in different governments anyway as Secretary of State, obviously, so we're not even going to pay attention to that. And what did I say at the time? You can go back and watch the segment. I said, I think they're being far too kind to Hillary Clinton. Why? Because we have evidence, namely brought to us by the International Business Times, that in the case of Saudi Arabia, for example, they paid Bill Clinton a tremendous amount of money for speeches, and then lo and behold, soon after, you had Hillary Clinton approve a stalled weapons deal that was going to go to Saudi Arabia. So the argument is, well, they wanted to speed up the approval of this, so they gave Bill Clinton some money for the Clinton Foundation, and then look at that, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton approved their weapons deal. So, but in the AP article, they say, okay, pay no attention to that because, she met with people from Saudi and whatever, but she's Secretary of State, she's going to meet with them anyway, so it is what it is. No, that's not how I view it. If there are people who are donating to her from other governments, do I think that has influence? Yeah. You want to know why? Because human nature exists, you dipshits. If somebody gives me or my spouse a couple $100,000 or a couple $1 million, yeah, I think that I'm going to like them and maybe do something for them that I wouldn't do otherwise. So, but again, they're being too kind, and the argument from Huffington Post and Vox is, you're being unfair because in the tweet, which by the way is limited to 140 characters, in the tweet it looks like what you're saying is half of all her donors were Clinton Foundation donors, not just the private citizens, so we gotcha, fucking anti-Hillary witch hunt. Oh, come on. And then also they go on to say that, well, this is misleading because, many of the causes of the donors were noble. For the 9,812th time, nobody is denying that the Clinton Foundation does some good around the world. The argument is there is pay-to-play going on. So in other words, if you have somebody, whether it be a private citizen, a corporation, or a foreign government or a foreign entity, give money to Hillary Clinton and her foundation and the Clinton family in general, that they will get special favors because she's in government and she has power. That's the argument. Nobody's saying that, hey, with that money, sometimes they do some good. Everybody acknowledges that. Everybody acknowledges that. But what you do not acknowledge is what I just mentioned before. That's just one example. Saudi Arabia gives the money to Bill Clinton, boom, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton approves the fucking weapons deal. There's other examples with, oil companies. Hillary Clinton pushed fracking around the world. You have instances in South Sudan, it was the State Department that approved an exemption for their child soldiers. Now, I don't know, you think that maybe has something to do with some donors, whether it be defense contractors here, or whether it be, some other people involved with the government in South Sudan. I mean, what other reason would there be to say child soldiers totally cool and we're on the side of that as we pretend and we go around the world and lecture everybody about human fucking rights? So don't be naive, don't be stupid, but that's what they're being. And then they also go on to say, you ready for this argument? This one is cute. One of the donors was Ben Affleck. And one of the donors was Ben Affleck. And so, yeah, because he's a celebrity, so there can't be pay-to-play and favors going on? Are you seriously? We're having this conversation. We just covered the story the other day. Justin Timberlake and Jennifer Aniston and a bunch of other celebrities are doing a $33,000 per plate fundraiser for Hillary Clinton. Now, these idiots can look and go, well, what do you mean? Money has no influence on politics. It's just Justin Timberlake raising the money. He's not asking for favors. Really? Is that your claim? No, that's not our claim. Look at the other people who showed up to the fundraiser, dipshit. CEOs, other people with power who, yes, have business in front of the government. They're the ones who are going to pay the $33,000. They're the ones who are going to want the favors. Like, why are people being purposefully dense? Why are they being obtuse and trying to not see the reality of it? I asked that question, but I know the answer. Because there's so many Democratic loyalist hacks that in a heartbeat, they would make the argument, fucking Koch brothers give money to the Republicans, all the big oil companies give money to the Republicans, and then guess what the Republicans do? They go, climate change? What climate change? I don't know what you mean. And they continue to give giant corporate welfare checks and subsidies to the oil companies. So does money affect politics? When it's the Republicans, you bet your sweet ass it affects them. Obviously, they're taking money from ExxonMobil and Chevron. What, is ExxonMobil and Chevron giving it to them? Because they like their stance on abortion? Please. No, they're getting favors for it. Every Democratic loyalist would make that argument when it comes to Republicans. Suddenly, when it comes to sweet, sweet Hillary Clinton, well, no. Come on, money? Getting favors for money? Never. Corruption is not a thing. Legalized bribery is not a thing. The money doesn't affect her, as far as I'm concerned. You have to stop over-defending Hillary. Let me repeat that. You have to stop over-defending Hillary. That doesn't help her. Like, I think these morons think that it helps her. Like, well, I got an idea. If we pretend that the money doesn't affect her, that'll help her against Donald Trump. It's not going to help her. It's going to hurt her because you're undermining all of your credibility. You have no more credibility when you start to argue the money doesn't affect Hillary Clinton and the money going into the Clinton Foundation doesn't affect Hillary Clinton. So all your credibility is gone because you decided because Donald Trump is so bad, therefore it necessitates that Hillary Clinton is an absolute angel. You don't have to argue that. You can be honest and direct and straightforward and say, Hillary Clinton is a disaster. She's an ultimate insider, she's massively corrupt, and she's part of the system. But you know what? Donald Trump is a over-the-top, fascist buffoon who's profoundly dangerous and doesn't know anything about the world and can really, put us up shit's creek without a paddle, and it is worse. You can make that argument. People are receptive to that argument. You want to know why? Because it's kind of true. You know what people are not receptive to? Hillary doesn't do any favors for money. I don't know what you mean. Really? What about the story of the bankruptcy bill? Remember this? It was Elizabeth Warren who told us about this. Where she was against a bill that biased the bankruptcy laws in favor of the corporations. This was before she was an elected official. After she became senator from New York, what happened? She flipped on that bill and was in favor of it. Why? She took a tremendous amount of money when she ran for Senate. That's why. She used to be in favor of single payer. Did you know this? All of a sudden, she takes a lot of money from the health industry, and boom, she's not in favor of it anymore. Isn't that weird? Isn't that funny how that works? And the numbers you're seeing on the screen right now, this is just in a brief time span when she wasn't in government later on. So she had already taken more money from the health industry and then flipped her vote. And, you guys have seen the numbers in her time off for the personal speaking gigs. She took a lot of money giving speeches to Goldman Sachs, giving speeches to other giant financial firms. The idea that she's not going to return the favors is ludicrous. So you have, please, this point needs to land with these Democratic loyalists. You're hurting her. You're not helping her when you pretend like she's an angel because Donald Trump is, a really, really horrible person and candidate. You can be honest about everything and still win people over. But that's the thing, is they were never interested in truth. They were never interested in the actual fundamental problems in the system and fixing it. You know what they do? They just play for a team. Rah, rah, Team Democrat, and that's the end of the conversation.